Welcome to Second Take. As usual, I'm your host, Ashwin Bedi. On the 29th of May, South Africa heads to the polls. Last week, we zoned in on the ANC as well as the DA. This week, we talk about the EFF, MK Party, Action SA, as well as the Inkatha Freedom Party. Now, before we get into all of that, for those of us still wondering how elections work in South Africa, here is a TikTok from TRT Africa taking us through the details.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that the country's elections will be held on May 29, 2024, with his governing African National Congress ANC party facing tough challenges. As the country prepares for the next chapter of its democracy, let's look at how the electoral system works. South Africa's electoral system is unique. The country is a parliamentary democracy. However, contrary to most parliamentary democracies around the world, there is no prime minister in South Africa. The president is the head of state and government. He leads the executive arm. Some describe this as a hybrid system, parliamentary and presidential. A president is not elected by the masses directly. A president is elected by parliament from among its members for a fixed term of 5 years, with a constitutional limit of 2 terms. This means to be the president or a presidential candidate, you must first be a member of parliament. How are members of parliament chosen? South Africa uses what is called a proportional representation voting system to choose members of parliament. Under this system, the citizens cast their votes for political parties, not for individual candidates. Each political party then gets a share of seats in parliament in proportion to the number of votes it got across the country in the election. This is calculated in percentage. For example, if a party gets 20% of all the votes in the country, then it gets 20% of the seats in parliament. However, for the first time, independent candidates not associated with political parties will be allowed to contest, but according to the Independent Electoral Commission, this does not change the proportional representation system. There are 400 seats in South Africa's National Assembly, located in the city of Cape Town. The party that gets the majority of parliamentary seats forms the government, and a president is elected from among its members, usually the leader of the party. However, a party must secure at least 50% of votes to be able to form a government independently. If no party gets more than 50%, then the party with the highest percentage will form a coalition with one or more parties to establish a government. The president then appoints his deputy and ministers from among members of parliament. The government is formed. Apart from the legislature and the executive, South Africa also has the judiciary. The current South African president Cyril Ramaphosa is seeking a second term in office. He came to power in 2018 after the then president Jacob Zuma resigned due to various scandals. Ramaphosa was deputy president. Elections in South Africa are held after every 5 years. From 1910 to 1994, virtually only white minority had the right to vote and be voted for because of the apartheid system, a rule of racial discrimination against black majority. However, since the end of apartheid in 1994, there has been universal adult suffrage, allowing all adult citizens to vote irrespective of their race. Since then, the African National Congress, ANC, has been the political party governing the country. However, as the country approaches new elections in May 2024, the party is believed to be facing its toughest challenge yet, due to internal wrangling, with former President Jacob Zuma falling out with the party's leadership as well as economic problems in recent years. There is also the apparent growing strength of opposition political parties such as the Economic Freedom Fighters led by Julius Malema and the Democratic Alliance Party led by John Steenhuisen. Apart from the national elections, South Africa will also hold municipal elections.
All right then. Let's talk economic freedom fighters. Formed in 2013 by Julius Juju Malema, the ex-ANC youth wing leader who graduated from rebel with a cause to rebel with a microphone. The economic freedom fighters are the go-to party for anyone who thinks Karl Marx could have used more hype around his particular brand of politics. Their base, a sea of youthful and black voters who are tired of being told that slow and steady wins the race. No, these folks want their revolution delivered now, ideally with a side of free land and a large serving of nationalized industries. Malema, who who took his exit from the ANC as an opportunity to show everyone that radical really means something different, and he proposes policies that are to the business community what Kendrick Lamar is to Drake. He advocates land redistribution and industry nationalization, the kind of thing that makes CEOs clutch their bonuses and whisper prayers to the gods of capitalism. But for the EFF supporters, it's a thrilling ride on the roller coaster of revolutionary rhetoric. Julius Malema is known for one thing: defying boundaries and making headlines while doing it. His speeches at parliament sessions, typically the dullest places to be, have turned into social media sensations. He's transformed the Economic Freedom Fighters, a party he built from scratch 11 years ago, into South Africa's third largest party. Now, Malema's reputation has grown beyond the country's borders. He's become the political equivalent of a celebrity chef whipping up fiery rhetoric with a side of controversy. His secret recipe: a dash of radical ideology, a sprinkle of Marxist philosophy, and a whole lot of finger pointing. This has earned him plenty of fans among disillusioned South Africans, but also a fair share of critics. At 43, Malema has already been convicted twice for hate speech, which for him is just a badge of honor. His relentless focus on inequality and the failure of the ANC to redistribute land to the black majority has made him both a hero and a public enemy, depending on which way the political winds are blowing. The EFF's 2019 election performance was almost 11% of the vote and 44 seats in parliament, a significant achievement for a party that revels in shouting matches and walkouts. The pollster suggests that EFF may repeat that success this year, while the ANC is predicted to drop below 50% of the vote for the first time in 3 decades. Despite being a minority party, Malema and his EFF crew are the most visible group in parliament, turning sessions into reality TV episodes, fistfights, walkouts, and red jumpsuits, all in a day's work for the EFF. Malema, with his knack for stirring up trouble, has offended everyone from xenophobic groups to white farmers to his own former political bosses. Quite the concoction. He also surprised many when he adorned the rainbow flag in protest of the Uganda anti-gay bill, sending folks that assumed his stance was too rigid to step up to such an occasion into a loop of confusion because you dare not ask the DA about their stance on queer rights. Malema's supporters love his combative style, and they see him as a champion for the poor black South Africans who've been left behind. Now, Malema is particularly popular with the youth, a demographic that's half his age, but twice as enthusiastic. Malema's charm doesn't stop at South Africa's borders, though. He's toured Ghana, Liberia, and Kenya, turning Pan-Africanism into his personal roadshow. PLO Lumumba, the chair of the Pan-African Institute, praised Malema for appealing to a new generation of Africans. Meanwhile, back home, political analyst Richard Culland isn't buying the hype, suggesting Malema's brand of chaos doesn't resonate with the broader public. Born in 1981 and raised by his mother, Malema's journey from a struggling student to the leader of the EFF is like a rags to red boiler suit story. He joined the ANC's Young Pioneer movement at the age of 9, became the regional head of the ANC Youth League, and then went on to become a national player by 2008. His rise was meteoric, but so was his fallout with Jacob Zuma, leading to his ANC expulsion and the birth of the EFF in 2013. Malema's mantra is that the ANC has abandoned its roots and left the people behind. His EFF manifesto for 2024 promises jobs, an end to power cuts, and nationalized key industries. It's a bold plan, but bold is kind of Malema's whole brand. In February, thousands of red-clad EFF fans cheered as Malema declared the party's manifesto would be the weapon against the enemy of the revolution. With the following like this, it's hard to know where the party ends and the revolution begins. Something tells me we're about to find out.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Umkhonto Wesizwe is the new kid on the block, arriving fashionably late in 2023, but making a grand entrance thanks to Jacob Zuma's endorsement. You remember Zuma, right? The former president with more court cases than most people have shoes. Yeah, that guy. He backed MK in December, instantly giving it street cred in KwaZulu-Natal, where his word is practically law. Have a look on the second take on Zuma. Former South African President Jacob Zuma, the phoenix of South African politics, has been granted a golden ticket back to the political circus by a South African court. Now, this ruling flips the bird to the Electoral Commission, which tried to keep him out of the ring, citing a rule book thicker than Zuma's illegal defense fund. You see, Zuma, the master of political jiu-jitsu, managed to pull a legal rabbit out of his hat, arguing that a little presidential pardon washed away his sins, much like that one shower. Now, the African National Congress is sweating bullets, or spears, I guess, realizing that their prodigal son will not be returning. I doubt anyone has had the word corruption next to their name more than Jacob Zuma. Perhaps just the Corruption Commission. Yet, his popularity has not taken a hit in KwaZulu-Natal, and for Jay-Z, audacity begins at home. It will be interesting to observe how Zuma, Ramaphosa, Malema, and Steinheisen square up in the Royal Rumble that no one asked for. The insults will be flying and diplomacy will be non-existent, and Second Take will be here for all of it. Now, MK has been gobbling up ANC and EFF supporters like it's a buffet. Malema, who has a long and tangled history with Zuma, said his party is open to a post-election alliance with MK. It's like a soap opera where everyone's related but can't decide whether to hug or throw shade. Zuma's blessing made MK the cool new party for those who might think that state capture and corruption are just fancy words for doing business. Oh, and about the name, MK is named after ANC's armed wing from back in the day. That kind of historical callback is great for marketing, even if it does conjure up images of berets and revolutionary anthems. At least it's a better name than what I assumed it would be called, which is the political party crafted for Zuma's resurrection. Now, before we talk about Inkatha Freedom Party and Action SA, here is our heartwarming moment of the week, the story of a South African man named Vote, who will cast his vote for the first time this year.
My name is Vote Obese. I was born and raised in Bushbuckridge region in the village called Lilydale. I was born in 1994, 27th of April. So it was an election day. My mom and my dad decided to call me Vote. Some called me democracy, some called me freedom. But at the first time when I attended the school, I was so angry, you see, like some they would call me election, you see, something like that. So why were parents that decided to give you vote instead of giving you some decent name? So I was so offended at the beginning, but when I grow up, I decided maybe I must accept it as it is. My hope for the future is to see our community being successful in terms of service delivery, running water, and then the pavement in our society. Because when it rains, sometimes the vehicles or the cars are struggling to get in because there is some mud and it is too wet.
Introducing 061 Express, brought to you by Synergy in proud partnership with Vintic Express. Here's your chance to make your voice heard to celebrate the businesses that make Windhoek exceptional. From your favorite coffee spot to the salon that always gets your style just right. It's time to shine a spotlight on the gems of our city. Over the next 8 weeks, it's your chance to vote for your favorites to recognize the best of the best. Nominations open on the 25th of April and close on the 5th of May. To nominate your favorite business, simply save this number 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp hashtag 061Express or scan the QR code below and follow the on-screen instructions. By nominating your favorites, you're not only supporting local businesses, but you also stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. The voting process will be the same as the nominations process, using the Synergy chatbot and the hashtag 061Express. Voting opens on June 5th and closes on June 23rd. Make sure to cast your votes for the best of the best. The winners will be announced on June 28th. 061Express, celebrating the heartbeat of Windhoek. Get ready to make your mark.
Inkatha Freedom Party. Now, this party is the equivalent of your stern but lovable grandpa, insisting that things were better back in his day when tradition and order ruled. Founded in 1975 by Zulu nationalist Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the IFP is all about KwaZulu-Natal traditional rulers and, wait for it, bringing back the death penalty. Talk about old school. Their relationship with the ANC is certainly toxic, with lots of fighting, occasional truces, and the occasional outbreak of violence. But they've worked together when it suited them, proving that even bitter rivals can play nice when there's a political advantage to be had. Vilenkosi Hlabisa, the current leader, is carrying on the IFP's torch, trying to make sure that Zulu kings and ancient customs get the respect he believes they deserve. Now, finally, we look at Action SA, the party for those who think government should stick to cutting ribbons and let everyone else get on with their lives. Founded in 2020 by Herman Mashaba, former mayor of Johannesburg, Action SA is a libertarian's dream or nightmare, depending on your perspective. They like small government, big business, and the idea that fewer rules equals more freedom. Mashaba's break from the Democratic Alliance was a signal that he was ready for something new, something less bureaucracy and more do whatever you want, just don't call me. Gauteng, the richest province in South Africa, is their stronghold, which makes sense because money likes to be left alone to do its thing. If you want a party that believes government should be seen and not heard, Action SA might be your pick. Just don't ask them to help with your taxes or traffic tickets. They're busy deregulating something or the other.
Hallo Namibia, ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
Away over the Easter shot.
Okay. Okay, so yes, please, today you make sure that we are fed. Sorry, ek as
So, we started the show with a TikTok and we will end it in the same way because this is not America and tweets are not public enemy number 2 of the students that protest against genocide. So, I will be leaving you with 2 TikToks from South Africans reflecting on the importance of this election. My name is Ashwin Betty and this has been my second take.
Do you know if there's one thing that I've realized about a lot of South Africans is that we do not understand the importance of planning for the future. Because if we did, we will understand that the 29th of May is not about you and me. The 29th of May is about ensuring that the next 30 years looks different to the past 30 years. The 29th of May is about ensuring that our children and our children's children do not have the same fights that we are currently having or the same problems that we are currently experiencing. When you approach the 29th of May the same way, our parents approached the 27th of April, 1994. You will understand that we have a different fight for the 29th of May. It shouldn't be a difficult question.
History repeats itself, right? So consider opening your eyes and minds to this. Our 2024 elections are a repeat of our 1994 elections. Mind you, the 1994 elections was the first time all citizens of all races in South Africa could vote, synonymous with universal suffrage. And the question was, are you voting for democracy or are you voting for segregation? Now, 2024, the question is, are you voting for change or are you voting for complacency, compounded with the 1994 question of, are you voting for democracy or are you voting for segregation?